Oh, the mistake, and McBreen's clean through on goal here to win it. What a miss from Daniel McBreen.
Fucking dog shit.
G'day everyone, and welcome to this latest episode of A-League Off Air. Before we start, I wanted to share a little story over the international break. So as soon as we'd finished recording last Monday with the one and only, inimitable Fayed Ben Khalfallah, I basically turned off the phone, put 2-minute noodles, a tent, a case of beer in my Jeep Riot, and me and the missus drove off to Uluru. 6,000 kilometre round trip, dodging kangaroos and wild goats and camels, and on the way to this amazing place. The whole trip was amazing. And as we were driving, because, you spend a lot of time behind the wheel, you get to thinking, this is an existential experience. I could relate this back to the A-League, about how we're so fucking ignorant about the outback of this country, and all our cultural references are European or South American, or where our origins came from, or our educational system taught us and everything. Then I thought, fuck it. I came across a road sign in the middle of the outback covered in stickers, and you're bombing over it, in the Northern Territory, 130, and I thought, I'm going to come back to that road sign and just have a little look, because I've got a sneaking suspicion. So we headed on to Uluru. 3 days later, we're driving back, and I thought, fuck, there's the road sign. I pulled over and went up and had a look, and sure enough, covered in ultra stickers from around the world. Fucking St. Gallen, Frankfurt, PSG, this whole road sign. And you think, there is the world's football culture has come here to the middle of fucking nowhere, 45 degrees, burning, and here are football fans with their beers and baseball bats, the stickers and broken teeth and all this stuff on all these stickers. It's crazy, and I'll post a few of them on the Twitter. There wasn't a single fucking A-League sticker on this thing. And I thought, fair enough. Everyone I told that I was going to Uluru, everyone said, I've fucking never been there. I'd like to do that. I thought, fucking hell, this is our country. This is our A-League. So I am doing the fucking analogy in the end. Go out, watch the A-League, go to the fucking outback. It is fucking amazing. It doesn't have to be spiritual. It doesn't have to be woke. It can be, if you're into that sort of thing. It's pretty spectacular. And yeah, that's about where we're at. Macca, good morning.
I got a question for you. When you were driving to Uluru, how many Tesla charging stations did you see? Because I'd be fucked, I think, if I tried to go out that far. It looked like a great experience, mate, but I'm not sure that my Tesla would get me there yet. Maybe once it's all, you get away from the city and the hustle and bustle, and we go forward a few years and there's Tesla stations all the way out through the outback I can go. But until then, I'm fucking city.
You're probably, with Elon and the money he's pumped into winning the election in America, he's probably going to set up some sort of satellite recharging thing that you'll even be able to. But fuck, you drive for 400 kilometers in a straight line and there is nothing, just cattle, emus running alongside of the road, goats. You come across about every 200 Ks, you get to a big road station where there's a pub, a bit of petrol, and that's it.
And that's all you need.
It's all you need. It's all you need. That and a bit of A-League. Well, so here we are, people. We had a unite round after the scorched earth policy that was the last A-League off-air episode. A lot of people, I felt Stadge in this post-match press conference yesterday, Macca, saying this thing had gotten too much oxygen. I was thinking, fuck, we should have published half the shit that Fayed was saying before we started recording. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, it's been given too much oxygen, so Stadge gave it a bit more. But look, let's concentrate on this week. Last night I was informed that I may be a world record holder by someone on Twitter. They said that they'd found an Australian jersey with 124 written on it, and they said I don't know how I stumbled across this, but they said they'd heard there was 127, and lo and behold, the one time I was caught up into the Socceroos, I had a 127 on my back. I put a photo of it up, and he said on the team sheet in international, he believes that is a world record highest number. Someone asked me what was the story with the numbers, and I told them the truth, that the higher the number, the shitter the player you were. So I probably should have had a higher number than that anyway. But I think when we get into the games this week,
long enough to have 127 along the bench?
That was a size triple XL. It didn't fit me at all, just to get the numbers on the back. Look, I think we should introduce on that note someone who did wear the jersey for Australia 80 times and represented it for a long, long, long time, a couple of World Cups and stuff. Let's hope he gets...
Hang on.
Oh, we're not going to introduce him. Oh, you've got an introduction, haven't you?
Yeah. No, it's not an intro. Fucking doesn't deserve an intro. But I'm just going to give people a little guess to know who it could be. So I'm going to come up with a few club names here and ask our guest if he recognises any of them. Dinamo Tbilisi, Dinamo Dresden, Dinamo Bucharest, Dinamo Kiev, Houston Dynamos, Dinamo Zagreb, Power Dynamos FC, or Dinamo Dushanbe. Are any of these ringing a bell for our guest, or am I missing one? Lukey, what do you got, mate?
Oh, I know pretty much all of them, but you're definitely missing Dinamo Moscow, mate. Dinamo Moscow.
That's it.
The mighty Dinamo Moscow.
Luke Wilkshire is our Dinamo Moscow legend, joining us on the pod this morning. 80 caps for the Socceroos, I dare say.
8 goals.
And 8 goals. Not only penalties.
I think 6 of the 8 were penalties, yes.
Don't have to bring him down like that. They all count. They all count.
I never miss one. They definitely do. They definitely do.
So what did you have? 7 years at Dinamo Moscow, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
And then went back again, or is that including the back?
I was there, and then I left, and I come back. So I spent a year in Holland at Feyenoord, and then went back and was planning to retire there, but ended up Arnie persuaded me to come back and do 1 year in the A-League for Sydney FC.
Brilliant. I've got a Dinamo Moscow story. Can I say it? I might already have told Lukey about it, actually. So I was my football team in Paris at the end of the season in 2003, headed to Moscow for our end of season trip. Still fucking Wild West in 2003. Moscow is a fucking shit hot city, and back then it was serious crazy. And we went to Spartak versus Dinamo in the Luzhniki Stadium, and I wouldn't say I was scared for my life, but there, walking around that stadium pre-game, there was a moment where I thought we are all going to die. And this was, so we're a bunch of foreigners walking around. You know, I was 30-ish, I guess, and most of us were, you know, a bunch of foreigners, French and expats living in Paris who travelled over. And at one point, we're sort of killing time before the game at the Luzhniki, and I see these Dinamo supporters starting to just gravitate around us and orbit, and they were some serious-looking motherfuckers. And I thought, we have to get out of here pretty quick. Nobody panic, nobody run, because if you start running, then you are really fucked. Yeah. And so we sort of just, you know, stopped, didn't talk too much, and just sort of moved towards the stadium, managed to get in. I can't remember the result. I think Spartak won, Lukey, I'm afraid. They had Igor Titov at the time, their famous number 9. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. We got out. And is that a usual experience for rival fans around where Dinamo are involved, Lukey?
No, well, look, when it's Spartak Dinamo, it's the biggest rivalry. So on those occasions, yeah, big derbies. You know, I was fortunate that I was well loved by my supporters over there in Dinamo, so I felt quite comfortable and protected. But yeah, you don't want to walk down the wrong street. Put it that way sometimes.
No, absolutely not. All right. So shall we get into it?
Yes.
The premise, as you all know, is that we go through match by match, have a chat about the weekend's action. It was a big weekend. The Unite round, all 6 matches, 12 with the women playing at Cogra, all 6 matches of the men played at Allianz. The pitch just about stood up to the rigours of 6 games in 3 days, but it started with Perth versus Western United, the Battle of Fear, I guess you'd call it in a European language, le match de la peur, with teams that hadn't won. And look, Perth went ahead early in the second half, and Western United finished over the top of them. And Macca, it was better signs from Perth, we thought, and then the same old signs from Perth.
It was a far improved performance, let's say, for at least, I would say, 55, 60 minutes. First half, they were getting shots away, they were creating things. When you look across the board, they end up getting 15 shots away in the match, and 3 on target. Well, coming into this game, they only had 1 on target in the whole competition so far. So there was a vast improvement there. And when they scored a really good goal as well with Taggart, squaring the ball up for Osler to put it away, was great vision from Taggart.
To almost fuck up.
Sorry?
He almost fucked it up.
Almost, but he didn't. It went in, so don't worry about it. As long as it goes in.
Exactly.
But then the defending woes kicked in again, and we didn't have enough time after the game to ask Driller too many questions, mainly because he answered them. He kept talking when we asked one question, he kept going and going. But I was going to ask him, you can sit there and talk about structures and formations and your patterns of play and your philosophy, but what do you do when the defenders just defend like Sunday League footballers? 3 moments for the 3 goals were all easily correctable. The first goal is for Leonard is 3 corner comes in, 3 defenders all go up together and crash into each other. Ball hits one of their other players behind them and just drops to a free player who taps it in the net. Kanga, who's an experienced international player, who's played at the top level in Ecuador for years, can clear the ball when the next one's coming through and he can just head it away, but tries to get up and bring it down and it hits his shoulder and goes in behind and they score from that. And Ibuzuki, who's probably the slowest footballer across the field in Australian A-League football, you're diving in at his feet so he can drag it across and score when you should be staying on your feet. So these are things, it's not that you can't. I feel for Driller in a way that he can work on, we've got to be structured, we've got to do this, we've got to cover each other. That. But when you just got basic defending errors like that, I wanted to ask him, what do you do? How do you fix that? To just fix the simple basic shits. Now, Lukey, you're a very good defender. What would you do in that situation? Because it was fucking Sunday League stuff that they gave away those goals. And it was so promising before that. The first half, they looked good. They were starting to look like they were getting a bit of cohesion. Yes, Western United had a couple of opportunities, but what would you go about with that, with the defensive being so poor?
Well, I mean, that's been an issue for them throughout the start of this A-League season, right? The amount of goals that they've conceded and the ability to defend. That's where you start, right? That's your base, is to be able to keep a clean sheet, to keep yourself in the game. They call it coach killers, right? Because like you say, you can have all this organisation and then you've got individual errors, which is out of your control. And then it comes down to personnel, right? Because you can get to a point that these continued errors are costing you. And again, they cost you your job, right? Because if you can't win games, ultimately it's going to land on the coach. I think he'll be looking at personnel for sure. But to have conceded the amount of goals that they've conceded and the kind of goals they conceded, it's not good signs. 16
goals conceded in 5 games. Still winless. They do have a point, which they got against the Mariners. Luke, I've seen you take out an amateur player at a charity event. So I know that there are certain levels of aggression and commitment you need to have on the football pitch. As Macca says, there's tactics and all this sort of thing. But as a professional footballer, your first job is to win that one-on-one battle, isn't it?
100%. That's what you as a player, you got to pride yourself on, right? It's 11v11. Sometimes not if there's a red card, but you got to win those individual battles. You got to put your body on the line. You got to be desperate to not concede goals. You know, we always talk about both boxes, right? And that's when the alarm bells are coming off. It's a red zone, you know, and the awareness and desperation to clear the ball when it's ball's coming into the box and to win things. You know, is letting them down at the moment.
Ibusuki is looking like he's going to be that player that Western United had their fingers crossed and were hoping he was going to be before the season started. He did well at Adelaide. I think it was 15 goals last season, but they have a very young team and he is emerging as a real leading light for them, especially since Garucho was back, but their other player, Tomoki Imai, was the only other player over 24, along with Garucho, I think, in that entire squad, and Hero is missing. That's important. I wanted to talk about a 17-year-old, Dylan Leonard. We chatted about him a couple of weeks ago because he made his debut. He looked great. Then a week after, he scored an own goal. This week, he scores a goal and then gets sent off. You know, he's running the full gamut at 17 years of age. And I know when you're 17 and you're edging your way into the team, you probably just don't want to fuck up. Well, he's done everything. Scored, own goals, red cards, everything at 17. Does this mean that he's going to have a great career, that he's got something special that he can't keep out of the big moments? Or could this all backfire?
That means he's not afraid, right? He's brave enough to put himself in those positions and to make those decisions. So at 17, that's a lot of learnings in such a short space of time, right? Fantastic. And don't be afraid to make those mistakes and to fail and to learn from them, and he'll get growth out of that. So, you want players who are going to impact the game, right? And people go to games to watch all sorts of, creativity, goals, challenges, passion. And he's given all that. So, at 17 years of age, like I said, bright future ahead. And obviously for Johnny Aloisi to show his faith in him, it says a lot. If you go back to Ibusuki, some of those experienced players around some of these younger players, like the likes of Noah Bodic as well, who got 3 assists. One of those we're looking at in Australia for number 9s, right? Where are we going to find our next number 9? So hopefully the experience of Ibusuki can help the development, I'm sure, of Bodic as well going forward.
I thought you were going to say, let's hope Ibusuki stays 5 years and we can naturalise him.
Jeez.
That'd be a stretch. But going back to Bodic, I wanted to give him a point in our 3-2-1s, and Harp said no because of his miss, which he said could go down in the annals of all-time misses in the history of football. I don't know if I've ever seen someone miss a header from basically being on the line before. It would have been better off just to let the ball fall down and just hit him on the thigh or on the stomach or whatever, because it was going to go in if that happened. But that was the other thing I wanted to say about him, is that to miss that opportunity, his head could have gone down because it was a fucking glaring miss. And I think he hasn't probably copped as much as, like, when you look at Pat Wood last year, missing that one, he copped fucking a heap of it. But the way he rebounded from that, and as I say, got involved in three goals and had other great chances himself, forced some saves. It's a sign of the player as well, and he's got plenty of potential. And you look at that team and you talk about Leonard being 17 and you've got Vidmar who's 20 at the back. They've got Donachie and Imai out. There's 2 senior players that they've been without, and they're still, going along. They've been very hard to beat. I'll probably jumped the gun maybe, I think, with these guys when I said last week that they were in the group that I don't think will challenge for finals already. Maybe they could with their experienced players back.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that little comment when we look at the ladder.
They bring those experienced players in and, do we expect Leonard to play all season? Probably not, but he looks like a more than capable replacement when the senior boys aren't there.
Perth, one more little side comment on this one before we move on. Perth have been a disaster. We know that. They have just 1 point from 5 games. There is one team managing to outdo them for the spoon race at the moment. We'll get to that. But the fans, it's hard to gauge where they're at the moment. And if this was beautifully personified by the fan there, Macca, that had the stand out sign.
Oh, that was fucking
And they were
hilarious.
standing there in the corner of Allianz with a sign saying, stand out. Stand out. And this was throughout the first half. In the first half, there was some sign, stand out, stand out. Osler scores. And they turned the sign upside down and said, stand in, stand in. And then Leonard scored. And they flipped it back, stand out, stand out. So Stan Lazaridis is sometimes feeling a bit of the heat, perhaps. Zdrilla maybe sometimes feeling a bit of the heat, but we've seen how quickly it can all change. Get a goal and you'll have the fans right back supporting you out west, and that's good to see. Next up was the F3 Derby on Friday night. This may be a very quick opportunity to have a chat about the concept of Unite Round and the idea of getting fans from Newcastle and the Mariners on a Friday night down to Sydney for a game. Obviously, the APL wanted to start with a headliner game on the Friday night and have, MacArthur, a Sydney-based team, on the Sunday to try and get people in. I heard some people say perhaps it would have been better to have just a blockbuster Saturday and have F3 Derby first, followed by, and give people from northern New South Wales the chance to get down for the game, or even on the Sunday. It's a debate to have because the crowd was fantastic and electric on Saturday night, but Friday and Sunday struggled a little bit more, aside from the pockets of individual team supporters that we had. Anyone want to add anything to that, or should we just?
What about someone did mention to me? What about having just Saturday, Sunday, and having 3 games on each day? I know the pitch had only been down for 2 weeks, but I think it would have held up. I don't think another game, condensing the games would have made much difference to the field, and just have it on Saturday, Sunday, one after the other. We had a 1:30 kickoff and a 4 o'clock.
Then
kickoff.
what time's your first kickoff though? Yeah.
Well, we had that on Sunday anyway, so why not have Saturday, Sunday? The 2 days where you just have 3 back to back. That's something someone mentioned to me, and I thought it's not a bad idea, back to back to back, and have it that way, and try and condense it and the crowds into those things. Because look, my experience, and I spoke to Lukey beforehand. I saw him on Saturday. I was there Friday. It was good outside, pretty quiet, but go inside and it was pretty dead. Saturday was fucking unreal. I was outside for quite a lot, doing a lot of things, going in and out, and the atmosphere outside was fantastic. They had a lot of ex-players there. There was lots of kids everywhere. We obviously knew they had the small kids games going outside all day over the 3 days, and Saturday had a real buzz about it. Then you went inside and there was a massive atmosphere, obviously, with the derby. And but the thing was, on Saturday outside, I think I saw every single A-League jersey except for a Mariners one. I saw I think I counted all 12 other teams there, all supporting whether their teams were playing or not, and it was great to see that. And Saturday seemed to be a really good atmosphere outside and in, and then from what I could gather on Sunday seemed to go back to like Friday again. So see, it's sort of the reason I was saying.
I did see Mariners shirts yesterday.
Sorry?
Yeah. I did see a couple of Mariners shirts yesterday.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't
when I was
saying
leaving
that
after the second game.
I didn't say that.
I know.
So I was copping shit. I was copping shit from 12 other teams, and I was waiting to see one Mariners supporter to go, "We love you, Macca," and they weren't there. I was like, "Fuck this! I'm getting hammered."
Yeah, the atmosphere was great. I was obviously up there on Saturday as well. It was super, like say, that throughout the day, inside and outside.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the derby, you're going to expect that. Being in Sydney, you just wonder, like the Friday night. Normally when you Unite Round, if you've got Newcastle Mariners, if that was perhaps on the Saturday, I think you'd likely see a lot more Mariners and Newcastle fans make the trip down and spend the day. So it's whether if you do go those 3 days, do you then put the Sydney Derby on the Friday where the supporters are going to come, and you have an F3 Derby on the Saturday.
Or have a big blue to get, victory up for Sydney, and have Western Sydney, who are going to get fans along, to play an Adelaide or a Mariners or, a MacArthur or... a Wellington, whatever.
Anyone, Robert.
To get those fans.
Yeah.
Anyone. There are 12 other teams that the Wanderers could have played. I mean, Jesus.
Fucking play someone.
And they did. They played Sydney, and we'll get to that. I don't want to just always, because I think in these situations, the APL, they're damned if they do and damned if they don't as well. They made decisions. Saturday was a great day. It really was. I think there was a lot of excitement in the lead up to it as well. People were looking forward to it. The numbers maybe, weren't what we hoped they would be on the Friday and the Sunday, but, this is the first time they've got it better than last year.
Let's be honest. Last year was thrown together as a last minute thing because of everything that had gone beforehand. This year they had time to plan, and I think the only thing that went awry this time was going to be a train strike, which thankfully they got that sorted out. But
which didn't happen.
I think they did a good job. You speak to most people that I've spoke to on socials or read on socials that were at the venues, seem to think it was enjoyable and good. So
exactly.
Look, I think they've done everything they could.
And last year, one of the big criticisms was they put the local teams as away teams in the games, and the members didn't have access to the game. They didn't have their ticket or whatever. And they fixed that this year. They said, if you're a member of a team, you walk in. Yeah. You walk in to your team, no matter what, away, home, whoever you are, you walk in, this is a free hit for you. And people didn't show up in the numbers we wanted as well, members of teams. So, fans, this goes back to my existential intro, fucking get behind it as well. There you've been given what you wanted, come. Yep. We build it, we will come, and you didn't necessarily come. So anyway, next game was the F3 Derby for the Ballon d'Or. Newcastle, a bit like Perth. We saw improvements. This Newcastle side, you talk about coach killers. This Newcastle side isn't really a coach killer for Robbie Stanton. He must just be pulling his hair out, I don't think there's people, calling for Robbie Stanton's head, even though he did have to field that question in the post-match presser. But it's just frustrating. It must just be frustrating. And the Mariners, there was the story of last year, how they'd gone for four consecutive losses, and then they played Newcastle, and they were excellent in that derby against Newcastle last year. They weren't excellent in this one. Brian Kaltak was. He equalised 2 minutes after Aquilina had given Newcastle the lead with his first ever A-League goal, and then there was a Shushnyar own goal, and the Mariners probably edged it overall, but the stats were very even. Newcastle had the higher XG. I think it was 14 shots to 11 in Mariners' favour. Only 2 on target for both teams, and the Mariners needed that own goal. It's doom and gloom. And I'll go to you again, Macca, on this one, because you're a Newcastle head, and we always do to gauge the temperature up there, and a Mariner as well, I guess. What did you make of this one? But, is there any hope for Newcastle?
I was surprised with the quotes I saw coming from Rob. Obviously, he was pressed on his tenure when he said, I'm here to do the job until I'm told I'm not wanted, because even after the defeat against Western Sydney, he was lower than I've ever seen him. And he was pretty low again after this game. I think he's just getting frustrated to the fact that, and he said to us that, I'm just sick of learning the hard way. Can we not learn, some other way that we're losing games and giving silly things away? The frustrating thing for him is that they finally fashioned a really good goal. Played through the lines. He started the game. He didn't have a recognised striker on the field at all. Lockie Bayliss was high. Yeah. Then when he brought Gibson on, I think it was Gibson's first touch. Lockie Bayliss is much better in those pockets as a 10 player. He got into the pocket, played bang. He turned and faced forward, and he played a wonderful pass through a run in behind, which we spoke about in the pre-match. We spoke about in halftime, because the week before he was banging on constantly about runs in behind, and no one was really giving it to him. If Ben Gibson comes on, first time, ball through behind, goal. Aquilini comes through and tucks it in. And he must be thinking, fucking finally, look at that. Someone gets in the pocket facing forward, we have a forward runner and we get a goal from it. How fucking simple is football? Less than 2 minutes later, I think it was, and they fucking give one away at the other end, who, Brian Scott comes out, gets it totally wrong, who has been a great leader for them and has made a couple of great saves this season, and just fucks it up totally. and Brian Caltech gets the equaliser. But on the other hand as well, you know, you look at Mark Jackson and he must be thinking, what the fuck have we got to do in that front third to get a goal? Alu Kual skied one over the bar when he was through one-on-one. They just don't seem to have that click in the final third either. And then, you know, the ball gets put across for their second one and Sushnja, wonderful back heel flick into the goal. I still don't know how he managed to do it. But I think if Sushnja goes with the run with Edmondson, who misses the ball, I think he actually just would be next to him. It would have hit him and just gone out for a corner or blocked it. But because he's off him, he's missed. You know, he's not expecting the ball and it goes in. But I think both these teams have had very, very frustrating moments. I think Mark Jackson will obviously be the happier one because they came out with the win, but he'll still go away and think there's a lot to work on here. They've got a couple of injuries that are really tough for them as well. DePizio, I think, is a real one, although he's young. I think they were putting a lot of hope on him this year, and he's not going to be there for a while. Yeah. It was a kind of game that you watched and went, this is a real mid-third game that you were like, fucking hell, who's going to win this and how?
It was hard to see where the goals were going to come from. Just very quickly before I come to you, Luke, this is a mini shatter stat. Before this game, all 6 goals conceded by Newcastle had been left foot goals. So they conceded 2 more in this one. That's an unusual stat. I know people take the piss out of me for an unusual stat. There are less left-footers playing football than right-footers. To concede only left-footed goals, maybe Ryan Scott has to have a look at himself. Maybe not. He saved a right-footed penalty from Valer Germain as well. And even Sushnja's own goal was a left-footed goal.
Beautiful flick.
So there you go. So Brian Kaltak's header is the outlier in all of this. If you want to beat Newcastle, get your left-footers up front. Luke, you spent time at the Mariners as well. There have been some changes off the field at the Mariners with Richard Peel as well. But more than that, your knowledge of the Mariners and what happened there over the last couple of seasons, should they be concerned about this run at the moment? Because last year it was four losses to start the season, 6 without a win in all comps. This was 9 without a win. It's a lot more demoralising going in ACL elite around the continent for hours and hours and losing, even though there were some good performances and promising performances. Losing can become a habit, just like winning can be. What's your take on this? And then also a little word on Brian Kaltak, because you worked with him. Yeah. And fucking hell, what a gun.
He is. Look, first you touched on that about losing can be a habit, winning can be a habit, and it is. Subconsciously the confidence that plays on players' minds and coaches for that, and you look at Newcastle and that's where they're sort of at, right? They can perform, but the Mariners have actually got a way to win, especially in these derbies of late. So Newcastle trying to break that habit and actually have the belief that they can go on and win games, I think is a big issue for them. The Mariners, again, look, they're now playing in Asia again, in the elite now, where it's a lot tougher, the travel, the competition itself. So, and the fact that they've had injuries, there's been a lot of turnover, there's been change in staff as well off the pitch. You've got to find that momentum. And I do think they're going to have some challenging times. Look, they've come off the back of 2 unbelievable years, 2 or 3 unbelievable years. So at some point, everyone knows in football, it's one thing to get to the top, it's another thing to stay there. It's a lot harder. So it's being able to find those ways to maintain and stay at that level is tough. Especially for a club like the Mariners, it's on a shoestring. It's not a Melbourne City with all the resources behind it. Caltech, what can you say? I mean, even he said himself, and it takes a lot for someone like him to say give himself a 10 out of 10, didn't he? But he's just phenomenal. He's a phenomenal person, first and foremost. And then as a player, I mean, his professional career starting so late, and what he's done over these past years is really phenomenal. I know he's got a vertical jump like no other. I remember when they used to do the vertical jump test, he'd hit the roof. He's so athletic. But no, look, he's massive.
Well, it was a cargo container.
Yeah, but he's crucial. He's crucial for the Mariners. And you touch on some injuries there, but if they were to lose someone like him, then I think they would be in some real dire straits. So him being fit and performing is going to be key for them to to have a decent season.
Well, I said it in our broadcast, actually. I am still dumbfounded that it took him so long to find a professional contract. He was playing in New Zealand for years and years and years. He was in Australia, was playing in Adelaide in the NPL there, and still didn't get picked up. And he stepped in, and yes, he got 3 red cards in his first season where he was probably a little bit erratic, and he had to learn the speed or the when to make the right decision. But every attribute that he has, like you normally look at a player, a centre back, and you'll go, Brian Kaltak, he's big, he's strong, he's quick, he's fast, he can read the game. And you go, as a defender, that's enough for me. But his on-the-ball presence as well, he is so comfortable on the ball and can pick a pass and not only short passes 5 metres, just bounce to a 6. He'll bypass the 6 and play it between players to hit the feet of a 10. He is so confident and composed on the ball. I still can't get my head around how he was left out in the wilderness in NPL land or lower leagues for so long before someone went, fucking hell, this guy can play. I'm just amazed, and in a way, I sort of feel a bit sorry for him because you think, well, he could have been a professional player for 8, 9, 10 years by now, and I still think he's got a few years left under his belt, and maybe not being at that level will help him have a longer career at the back end, hopefully. But he is fucking phenomenal as a player. I think he's one of the best players in the league.
Well, that's a big wrap. We're handing out the fucking caviar today, aren't we, after last week's show?
We've got to be nice. It's a unite round. Everyone come together and give us each other a hug.
All right,
yeah?
let's be nice. This one will test that theory. Brisbane versus Adelaide.
Here we go.
In fact, no, before we get there, who the fuck am I? Let's get it in here.
Robbie Thompson.
Here's our weekly quiz. Yep. That's right. Who the fuck am I? Last week's answer. Not many people got it. I think our friends from For Fuck's Sake got it. They sent me a little message straight away off the bat. So I was very impressed. I don't know who from For Fuck's Sake. I guess it was Dave that fired the message off. It was Benito Carboni. Was the player that played in fucking 500 clubs, never played for Italy, started out in the early 90s at Torino. I do know someone we can ask about that actually. Pockets was at Torino in the early 90s, I reckon. So we'll Anthony Crea. So we'll try and get him on and ask him about that. So Benito Carboni was the answer to that one. Well done if you got it. Here is the who the fuck am I for this week, and we're going back to the no prizes policy. So this is just for your own personal, fulfillment and coffee machine boasting, if you like. Who the fuck am I? My career started in the old NSL, and an overseas move soon beckoned. I played successively in Romania, Poland, and Norway, before a return to the A-League with 3 clubs over 8 years. A short spell in China before a 4th club in the A-League, and then a final stint with the club I'd played for on the national stage and with whom I ended my career back in the NPL. That's the big clue in this one. So I played national football in Australia with the club and then returned to them at NPL level. Along the way, I helped the Socceroos qualify for the 2006 and 2014 World Cups, but didn't travel to either. And in terms of honours, I won the Extra Klasa, that's the Polish First Division, and the A-League. There you go. Who the fuck am I? That's a lot of clues. Any ideas?
No, I thought I had it and then I fucking lost it.
You thought it was you?
No, it wasn't. No, I had someone else in mind, but anyway. No, as usual, I've got no fucking idea, Robbie.
Yeah, exactly. Who the fuck am I? Lukey, no fucking clue?
No, when you touched on Romania, the likes of Jacob Burns and Daniel Georgievski played there, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. But Georgievski played 20 times for Macedonia. Not for the Roos. All right, let's just let that one settle, hey? And let's move on. Now it is time for Brisbane versus Adelaide. I was commentating this one. This was a pretty entertaining match, to be fair. I even thought in the first half, we had an early goal from Jelicic. Adelaide looked to fight back, scored just after the half hour. Stephen Mork's first of the season. Jay O'Shea scored his 13th consecutive penalty. Lukey, that puts your 6 out of 6 for the Roos.
Amateur hours.
Exactly.
Yeah, but he's what penalties in the A leagues or international
Oh,
goals?
yeah, they worth double them ones.
Sorry, man. Hey.
Is he an Ireland international? Did he play for Ireland ever? I think Roy O'Donovan played once, didn't he? Or twice, got called up. I'm not sure if Jay played for Ireland. Zach Clough. So Brisbane were leading 2-1 at half time, and playing okay in the first half, to be fair. And then they just ran out of gas. It all went pear-shaped. I think it was 30 seconds into the second half, Zach Clough scored to equalise. Archie Goodwin then got a goal from a great Dylan Prius pass across the face that just left him just a tap in. Brisbane switched to 5 at the back, trying to just batten down hatches when it was 2-2, like early in the second half. It seemed a little bit negative. It didn't come off. And then Adelaide just ran
You're saying
over
that Zakovic got it all wrong?
I'm saying what happened is that...
Dive in here, Lukey. What do you think?
Yeah, well, he's the one who makes those changes, right?
Yeah.
The players didn't do that themselves, did they?
No. So it was that early goal, and
So
then
he got it all wrong.
Anthony Burke-Gilroy that came into the middle. Is that what you're saying, Luke? You were there on Saturday.
Yeah, I was there.
Well, come on, you've obviously got an opinion on this. Let's go. What have you got?
Yeah, you just said it there yourself, and you could see that at 2-2 they were happy to take a draw. There was no belief. Obviously, he didn't have the belief in the players to be able to go on and try and win that game, did he? To make that change. But that's one I'm guessing that he's going to have to go on and own and reflect on, because it's been a not a good start for the Brisbane Roar. Obviously, no points. You can see the belief in the players. Like I said, once it got to 3-2, it did look like the game was just done. Brisbane didn't look like they were going to come back into it. Didn't look like they were going to get the equaliser at all. There'll be a lot of questions to be answered up there.
Well, there were Brisbane fans must be asking the question. We don't know how they're training, but Berengay looked a couple of weeks ago like he was getting back to full fitness. He started the last game. The game before, he set up the assist for Waddingham against Sydney, which was a superb pass. He's a player with quality. They just can't seem to hold on to the ball, and it looked to me from a commentator's perspective in the second half, they just ran out of gas as well. Now, Macca, what's your view of this from looking afar, and then we'll swing back to Luke about a question about what's going on at Brisbane as well.
Well, when you look at Brisbane last year, by the back end of the season, they would have most possession. They would try and move the ball, and they had decent possession. When you look at the midfield, they've got a decent midfield in Jay O'Shea, who we know should be able to control games, and some games we haven't seen him being able to do that. Keegan Jelicic is a young player who's got lots of potential, and a very talented player. We haven't seen the best of him, and we saw bits and pieces of that from him, I thought, particularly with the goal where he drifted into space. Ben Halloran made a good run to drag the defenders away, and he tucked away a real tidy finish to give them the lead. And you're thinking, okay, maybe they're going to start to dominate the games, control the games. And just didn't have it, did it? The error from Billity, he had a shocker last game as well, where he gave the ball away in a poor area, gave the ball away again here, and things like that stemmed the tide. But as the game went on, there was only going to be one winner, and Adelaide just grew in confidence. When you look at the 17 shots in the game, 6 on target, but when you look where they were as well, they were in good positions on the pitch, in the box. That there's a reason they had an XG of over three expected goals, because they were getting in good areas and causing all kinds of problems. And I agree. I thought that there was only one team that was going to win this game once it got to... I felt at 2-2, you just saw Adelaide lift because it was so quick after half-time. 2-2. Yep. And then they just seem to, right, we're going to go away and win this now. Now, Brisbane, if they don't get a point from their next game, they'll go down as the worst starting team in history after 5 games in the history of the A-League. And that's something you don't want to have. So they'll be desperate next week to get a point at least to try and not be that worst team ever.
Well, Luke, this is, results are one thing and it's a results-based business at the end of the day. They're 4 straight defeats. They're conceding, I think it's 10 goals now conceded in 4 games. Jay O'Shea is their technical leader. He's their leader on the pitch as well. We're not seeing enough of him on the pitch. There are young players that need this development. Is the clock ticking on Zadkovic, you reckon? I mean, they've changed coach 4 times last season, and it destroys a campaign. We know that probably what we're hearing is that the Khan situation is not yet resolved either, his exit from the club. That's going on behind the scenes as well, because that wasn't perhaps as clear-cut, or not from Ben Khan's point of view, as it was made out to be. So how long does Ruben have? And is this, how important is stability for a club? I mean, do you stick with him because you've made these decisions? And how long do you before you think, well, this is another season gone?
It's interesting, just the way the whole job process come around. You touch on there, Ben Khan. And I remember we were there at the time because obviously also the way Zadkovic went in to get his job at Perth. Then all of a sudden he's popped up at Brisbane as assistant coach, and the head coach, Ben Khan, has gone within weeks and saying that it's still not resolved. That then, there's a cultural thing, right? If I don't know what's going on behind the scenes or how it's happened, how it comes about, but there's no stability up there, that's for sure. Or if they're saying they're trying to get stability, the results can show otherwise, right? It's just not a good start. It's not good that something like Ben Khan's situation is still hanging overhead or still lurking there in the background, because, players know as well. Players, if they're there and they see and they feel it. And the likes of an O'Shea, who's the experienced one, who's a leader, and also a great man. You need the likes of him, Berenguer, to be on board, to supporting those younger ones, to bringing them through. And when you're getting results like this, it's not going to help, right? It's not going to help anyone. Is there pressure on? It's A-Leagues, right? Do we change managers that often? It needs to be a real bad run of form to get the boot, right? And it's still early in the season.
Do you have, when you look at their squad, Brisbane squad, Lukey, do you think they have the quality and the talent to be further up the pitch, to be challenging for that top 6? Or do you look at that squad and say, well, I don't really see much from it anyway? What's your take on the setup of their squad?
No, I think if you look at the squad, I think, for me, O'Shea over the last year has been one of the best players in the league. The experience of Berenguer, the likes of Waddingham, who's going to win your games, if you're getting things right and this for the right sort of service. I think there's enough there in that squad to be competing to break into that top 6.
Well, Corey Brown's an experienced campaigner. Walid Shaw is a full international player who's played overseas as well. Keegan Jelicic is an Ollie Roo. Joe Coletti has overseas experience. We're not talking about a Newcastle bunch of kids either. No. There is experience. Yes, there are kids, but there is experience
I agree.
in this side as well.
Because like I said at the start, I think when you look at in that midfield area, Coletti is a workhorse midfielder. You play him in the 6. You got Jay O'Shea, who I agree, one of the best players, been going around for the last few years. Consistent player, consistently controlling games and creating things. Young Keegan Jelicic, Flo Berenguer, young Waddingham up there. Going forward, you would
Ben Halloran.
Yeah, Ben Halloran. Now, I think going forward, especially in particular, there's plenty of experience. There's plenty of ability there. They just can't seem to get it together at all at the moment. I think there is a blend of experience and youth there that they should be performing better.
One thing, if I was to commentate differently, I would get the young debutante's name correct. So there you go. Brazetti. That always helps. Brazette is just Brazette. So there you go.
Yeah, but who told you that? Someone told you that on Twitter, did they?
Yeah. Yeah, I had and off Twitter, I got a couple of messages. Adam Peacock reached out, who had him at Manly.
Oh, what the fuck did he know? Peacock.
when he was younger.
Fuck, he knows nothing, that bloke.
No,
his name's actually Peacock.
To let you know.
Adama Peacock.
Piachok.
Oh, sorry.
Piachok.
Yes, yeah.
There's a little accent over the sea.
Yeah.
Piachok.
He was, by the way, he was all right.
Congratulations, Jacob Brezet.
Brezet, by the way, I was stood down on
good.
that sideline where he came on, and he looks tidy. It got to the point where I was thinking, just give it to that kid and let him run at him, because he looks sharp, not afraid to, and he looked gassed, to be fair to him. He's only got, it's, you go on and you're all excited, and a couple of minutes in, you're like, fucking hell. Well, he looked like that, but they were like giving the ball, and you could hear the bench, get at him, get at him, get at him. So they can obviously see that this kid's got some talent as well. But yeah, I like the look of him. I think he's one that maybe we can look out for going forward.
These kids are what this season, perhaps more than any, the A-League is all about. We know that there's been struggle to recruit, that the money's not there. These kids are getting their opportunity, and it's great to see these kids that just have no fear, that can come on, and this is what this season, some of the games aren't living up to the expectations. Some technically, consistency-wise, it's missing at the moment in the games. But towards the back end of the season, when these kids, we talk about Leonard, Dobson, this kid Brezet, we've seen other kids coming on in games, making debuts. This is going to be what we benefit from in this towards the back end of this season, I reckon.
It should be Australian football in general.
Yeah.
Australian football in general. We're not going to be in English Premier League. We need to develop in our young players, giving them opportunity. Trying to, if we talk about being financially sustainable, the only way clubs can survive is if you're developing our own players and we're selling them. Yeah. And we get the value of those Australian players, get it up. The more players we can get to Europe, the better our national teams will become. The sooner we get them there. So giving them that opportunity at these younger ages in the A-Leagues gives them that exposure to the big world of football, an opportunity for us then to be able to sell these players on.
Look, you look back at the golden generation, most of those guys were getting first team football at 16, 17, weren't they? Getting an opportunity, whether it was being blooded in or they were just thrown in and go earn your stripes. You get those opportunities. The younger you can get them in there and play, they've got to earn it. Obviously, you can't just throw kids in for the sake of it. But when you've got these talented youngsters where you think these ones could have something, you've got to start giving them stuff. Just even if it's 5-10 minutes, you need to give them exposure to it so they can grow and develop quickly. And you're right. And then we can, develop them here, sell them over, and the next one steps into their spot.
100%. 100%.
Well, this is also, and you see it around the world at various levels, but there are Spanish players all over the world after Spain won the World Cup and the Euros, and everyone went, my God, did you see what Spain are doing? It's like the Dutch before that, or, this is how it works. German players after 2014 are suddenly popping up everywhere. The Socceroos, what they did in Qatar had immediate effect. Suddenly everyone looked and said, Australian players, we can take a chance on these. The Joe Gauchis, the Bovolinas, the Girdwood Reichs, there's Geordie Bosses that were heading over. Jelicic went to, all of a sudden European clubs are saying, well, we saw that this is, a tidy enough side on the international stage. Their players, they get paid fucking next to nothing, let's be honest, compared to what wages are everywhere. So it's not a risk to take a punt on these guys, and it's still happening with your Iran Kundas, your kids that are going to go through, your Mo Tourés that went over, all these guys, Yengi, they all went over. They're playing there, and that's the way, and it's the Socceroos that will benefit as well, and the same's happening in the women's game.
Yep, no doubt, and it is the way. And like I said, some clubs have, look at the Mariners and the likes of Adelaide that have been doing that. Moving players on, and yes, some of these clubs are being forced into it because of the financial restraints, but I think that's the best model for Australian football going forward. Yes, we need to be bringing out our marquees, the likes of Mata and Costa, to bring some fans and things like that, but the rest of it should be used developing and trying to sell these players as quick as we can.
Yep.
And should we be playing our marquees? No, we're not going to go there. Fuck it. Just stop.
Oxygen,
stop,
oxygen,
people.
oxygen.
Let's chat about the Sydney Derby, shall we? So 4-2, Sydney FC won. I'm just trying to think.
Easy.
It was. Sydney were too strong. I was sitting with Daniel Georgievski and a little pocket of Western Sydney support there having a chat. But look, at the end of the day, this Sydney side was too strong. Did we have Douglas Costa and Macca on the field at the same time?
No, because Costa
I'm trying to think when Douglas Costa came off. He came off, yeah. So,
but what about not a bad?
Came on in the 58th minute.
Not a bad replacement when your marquee player has to come off at half time and you can go, oh, come on, Anas Wahim, go out there and show us what you can do. He's fucking unreal, by the way. From the very moment I saw him, I think the first game I saw him was in a Asian Champions League Elite, and he's just his sharpness, his little movements in the pockets, he'd pass and move and run in behind the defenders, then check back. And I was like, oh, I like the look of him. Fucking hell, he was quality, wasn't he? I would have given him man of the match for 45 minutes the other night. I don't know who did end up getting it, but he was fucking class.
I think he got 2 points in the Tobins.
He was class
for when he came.
But when you look at Sydney FC, and you got to give credit to them. Yep, they've recruited very, very well, and their starting 11 was good. Then you look at the bench, and you go, they've also got some good young guns coming through. That not that the young guns aren't in the starting lineup anyway; they're putting them in. But you looked at the bench, in the first 4 or 5 names, you were like, "Oh fuck, they'd start anywhere else." You know what I mean? Or be getting game time, regular game time anywhere else. They've got a good squad, not just a good first 11, and they did dominate the game. I thought Milanovic ball for Sapsford's goal, who loves scoring against Sydney, doesn't he? 3 out of his 4 goals have come in the derby.
That was a great cross.
It was pinpoint. It had to hit that spot or it wasn't going to be a goal. It was quality. But, yeah, then the second half came out and in 8 minutes it was almost the game over. Sydney just came out and Western Sydney didn't. And lo and behold, Stads then made a change and put 4 in one foul swoop. He made the changes and I thought they moved the ball quite well.
Did a Rudin. Wasn't that a Marco Rudin four changes in one go?
I was trying to remember if I'd seen it before. I thought I had somewhere, but
didn't Rude do it when they were down? What was it? The game against City when they were down 5-0 or something at halftime or 7? You know. And I think there was the.
But they started to move the ball. I thought there was a 15-minute period in that second half where they started to bop the ball around well. They moved it particularly well from the right side through midfield to the other side. I thought Juan Mata just when you I don't want to say.
Well, we've got to have this conversation. No. We've got to have this. We've got to have this chat because it's a thing at the moment. So Mata.
I thought Skichluna was good when he was buzzing and getting around, but also the uneducated would watch Juan Mata and go, well, he just sort of moves around and bounces the ball here and bounces it there. And, if you're not really a football aficionado, I think that you'd sort of be looking at him going, oh, yeah. But it's the simple things that he does and does them so well and where he moves the ball and when he moves it. I thought they looked very good for 15 minutes and they kept moving it from the right side through the midfield, through him or one of the others, to the other side for Clisby to get crosses in. And they just couldn't quite it felt like Sydney was sort of under the pressure for a bit. And you thought if they get one here from about half an hour to go, I think it would have been 25 minutes maybe. If they get one here, Sydney are going to start to have a bit of squeaky bum time and go, fuck, we're under pressure here. They finally did get one from the corner, but I just thought they seemed to move the ball a little bit better, have a little bit more control of the game when he made those 4 substitutions. Sydney ended up getting another goal and, winning it comfortably,
and then a 5th.
The 5th was disallowed. You walk out before that, yeah. But yeah, Jaden Kaczarski got 5 minutes, and you're surprised he didn't score 2 goals in that time. But they were too good, weren't they, Lukey?
They were too good. Look, you look at this Sydney FC squad, and I think this is a championship for them to lose themselves, because I think on paper that team. Should run away with this league. I think, I've been to both those derbies now and Sydney FC just too strong across the park. I think across the park, of course, a question mark why Mata's not playing. Someone of his ability, and experience in these big games. But there's obviously reasons behind it that I'm not aware of.
Yep. We'll leave it at that. No more oxygen. Yeah, look, I'll give the lay person's view of it then. A couple of beers in, watching from after my work for the day was done. Great atmosphere. I thought it was a really entertaining game. There was energy. I think it was a good advertisement for what the A-League is and where it's at. It's no surprise that it's two of the bigger teams. And as you say, both of you, that Sydney FC just have that quality. I mean, they have the quality on the pitch that lifts the game to a next level. They can play with intensity. And it was great. It was a great night out. Great night out.
I will say, Robbie, we talked about, Friday and Sunday being a bit flat and not people there. The crowd was unreal. 20 minutes before kickoff, I was on the sideline with Tristan McManus and we were trying to do a cross back to Tara in the studio. Tristan was 50, 70 centimetres from me trying to ask me a question about the squads, and I couldn't hear a fucking word he was saying because we were down at the Cove end and the Western Sydney players had come out and they were on the screen as well. I couldn't hear what Tristan was saying whatsoever, and I had to just say, I can't hear what you're saying, but on our screen is Western Sydney players, so I'm assuming we're talking about the Western Sydney team at the moment because the atmosphere was fucking electric. It was really loud. It was fantastic, and you had a real feeling of, we don't want to compare ourselves to overseas, but it was that atmosphere of this is football. This is really good. The crowd was involved. Both sets of fans at each end were going at each other, the RBB and the Cove, but everyone else was getting involved as well, and the atmosphere was fucking unreal. It was really, really good pitch side. We had the windows open through the commentary. Awesome. Yeah, it's good, wasn't it, Lukey?
Yeah.
Awesome. I had several kids from my academy go up, and I had a friend of ours come up, and it was their first ever time to a football game. A couple, they got their son who's just started playing in my academy. They never played football before, and he's going well. And they went down to Melbourne to watch a Socceroos game, the father and son.
Yep.
And they had such a good time. They're going, we want to come to this. So I said, okay, no problem. I got next couple more tickets to take him. And then his mother, so the both of them wanted to come. She wanted, to experience it. They said this was the Socceroos game was phenomenal. And they went there to that game, and they've gone, this is the best. And she turned into a soccer mum now. So she's a soccer mum.
Awesome. Well, that's what we want.
Never been. And she's gone this atmosphere. They're going, can we go to like this every week? We're going, unfortunately, it's not like this every week.
If only we could have a derby every week.
But it might get there.
We hope so, because not just what happens on the pitch, but the whole thing that they took in, and they left that stadium just go,
we want more.
And because we were, one of our, we had a private suite up there, and all the kids come and they've gone, how do we get a private suite? I've got no problem. You can just jump online. There's plenty available, unfortunately, for most games.
No, but that's what we want, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is
exactly.
And this is what you want. I remember, I think it was in the derby. There was a moment where someone did a slide tackle out on the, didn't need to do the slide tackle. Player had almost stopped, wasn't going anywhere. And the whole crowd just went, "Oi!" And I thought, this is what we need. You've got these hardcore, we've got the rusted on, and they're rusted on for a reason. They will always be there. Yes, there'll be more, it will fluctuate a little bit, but the rusted on are there, the football people are there. What we need are the people that, like Luke is saying, that come and see this unique experience and don't have to understand the rules and don't have to think they're fucking Pep Guardiola, that they understand every substitution that's made and where you need to compensate here and do all this. Let it go. Just go with the emotion. Fair play APL, because part of that experience on the Saturday was the Unite round as well and what was going on outside. That needs to be a thing now. It's a thing all over the world, no matter what the hardcore say. It's an experience. You have to make the viewing experience for the people that come to the game worth it. They come with their kids. Kids don't like sitting down in the one place for 2 hours. You've got to give them options. You've got to have, it's a full package. I think Saturday people that went to Allianz got that full package. And what I liked was that moment when that slide tackle, and it reminded me, do you remember, because Thierry Henry was a very smart footballer, but when he went from France and Italy to England, he understood that most people inside an English football stadium don't have a fucking clue, and they just want you to get stuck in and run hard and sweat for the jersey. And do you remember Thierry Henry would always go for like 40-meter sprints for a ball that he knew was going out and he wasn't going to get there. And it'd just go out, 2 meters before he'd get there, and he'd run over there in line and pull up, and everyone would go for the effort, and that was all part of the thing. And they're the people that just want to see that effort, want the thrill of it. We need those people to start coming.
Those kids,
the ones that don't have to be rusted on.
But those kids become our rusted on. They become the ones who sit there talking like
for this experience. Absolutely,
it's not an overnight process. These kids, if they can get them there and they enjoy it and they get an atmosphere. This is why the atmosphere is so important, to not have dead atmosphere. I took my son years ago to the games at the Jets when there was 5, 6, 7,000 people there in a 33,000 seater stadium, and we walked out and he went, I said, "You delight?" And he loves football, plays football, loves it. I said, "How was that?" He went, "It was all right." And I was like, yeah, because we were in the fucking top of the stand with no one around us, and him and his mate trying to sing a song, and people a couple of people looking at him going, "Oh yeah, that's all right." But there was no atmosphere. But that atmosphere that you get there, and that's, we can go into this whole debate about having smaller stadiums and all that, which we can talk to. We're fucking dead, because it's probably not going to happen. But those moments that Lukey just spoke about there, They could be our rusted on people in the next generation who are fucking fanatics like us.
Yeah. A word on Patrick Klimala. 3 goals so far this season. Great celebration. What the fuck was that? Was that some Marvel cartoon thing? I didn't.
Ripping his shirt open, his muscles and stuff. But it was funny because about a minute before that on comms, I said to Simon, "Klimala's been quiet tonight, hasn't he? Hasn't really been seen too much." And he went, yeah, you're right. And then he turned around and scored, and we both looked at each other and went, well, at least it's a commentator's curse in reverse this time. We didn't kill him. We fucking lifted him up.
Yeah, exactly. I did that with Jelicic, just saying, well, Brisbane are never going to score in, a month of Sundays, and Jelicic scored a fucking screamer as well. All right.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Look, no, he's been good.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
He just seemed, I thought he seemed a little bit off, not on the same page as his team the other night. A couple of times he'd make a run and the ball would go the other place, and you could see there was one with Caceres, and I think one might have been with Lolly or Waheem, where they were like, no, you're supposed to be moving there to go there. And I saw a few of those conversations going off the ball after something had happened. He just didn't seem to be in the right spot. But as I also said in comms, if you're a striker, you're 9, you don't see him for 85 minutes and then he pops up and scores the goal that secures the game. Who gives a shit?
Yep.
True.
Fair call. Luke, nothing to add?
No, look, that's what you want, right? You just want goal scorers. Number 9.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, they're going to count your goals. Simple as that. But you've got to be bringing something to the team, right?
Yep.
You've got to be bringing something.
Juan Mata, like you're bringing today to this podcast, fucking. Here is with a World Cup winner in Juan Mata, so it's time for show and tell. Here is delve back into the PSG shirt collection that I have with World Cup winners. So here is Leandro Paredes, who is Lionel Messi's personal bodyguard on a football pitch at the moment with Argentina. He was at PSG as well. That's that one. This one, Presnel Kimpembe, signed. These are signed, by the way, of course. Presco won the World Cup in Russia with France, and one of the real jewels in the shirt collection crown, Angel from Coupe de France game, signed there. You can see it.
Now, Robbie,
Angel Di Maria, and this is a good one for football fans.
You need to make sure that no one finds your address, mate, because if you go out for coffee one day and come back, these shirts are all going to be fucking gone.
Interestingly, and I don't know, maybe Luke and Macca, you've probably signed a few shirts in your time, but do you have 2 different signatures? Di Maria has 2 distinct different signatures.
Yeah. Like you've got a football one, and then one for your bank statements. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. If that's what you mean, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. But also, no, Di Maria also has 2 on his shirts as well. One where you can actually read Di Maria and then just a squiggle.
I thought you might have had one where he wrote Di Maria and then he wrote fucking, cup winner. 2 different ones. No.
Number 11, smiley face.
Long time ago, someone said that to me when I autographed a shirt or a piece of paper. They said, awesome, I can use that at the bank now. And I was like, fuck, I need to make sure I've got a different proper autograph to my signature.
All right, time to move on to the Sunday of Unite round, where the Kiwis did the business. 2 wins. Do you remember last year, Wellington got a 1-1 draw against Melbourne Victory without having a single shot? Well, here they had 1 shot on target.
It's fucking
and it's all they needed.
Unbelievable.
Clinical.
They are. Like, clinical to a fucking fault. It is ridiculous. I've got the stats in front of me here now. 18 shots to 6, 3 on target to 1, XG 1.5 to 0.45, possession pretty much 60-40, everything, 7 corners to 1, every fucking thing says Victory should win this game. And Chiefy fucking wanders out with the 3 points again, and then he's like, oh, you know, we changed 5 times during the game for this. And I'm thinking, shut the fuck up, Chiefy. You've just sat in, you fucking defended your ass off, and you've jagged a goal at the other end, you prick. Man, it was...
They did it last year as well.
Exactly.
They did it last year as well.
Shit, different
Exactly,
year.
yeah.
They are fucking ridiculous.
But they're getting the results. He finds a way to get the results. It was like, honestly, it was like watching them last year, and you're just like, how are they where they are? How? They're getting dominated, but they pick up results.
I'll be honest, Costa Barbarouses...
This is how I picked them to be wooden spooners this year.
You did.
And I was expecting that luck to run out. Yeah, and here they are, fucking sitting second in the table, doing the same shit.
Costa Barbarouses is good, though. His movement, you know, I think we get... Players get to 32, 33, and you think, oh, they're going to start to see a decline. Things have changed a bit now. You see a lot players, especially who look after themselves, they're going into their late 30s, and he doesn't look like he's going to die off any soon. He's fucking as quick as ever. His movement's fantastic. He's clinical in front of goal. He doesn't get too many opportunities, but when he gets one, he puts it away. And they're just doing the same old thing, and I have a feeling.
Well, the way they play suits him, someone like Costa, right?
100%.
Because it allows that spacing behind him. You think about that when you're getting on. Usually, it's your speed that's the first thing to go, and you just touch on it there. He hasn't lost a touch. So, you know, he's been great for them. He was last year, or his best ever year, I think, last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But like I say, that's sometimes you know how it is. Like a style that just suits certain players. And it's suiting him down to a T.
100%. And I think he's got, 96 A-League goals now, so he's only a few away from 100.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have a feeling we're going to be, again, going, well, they can't ride this luck all the way. They can't have 18 shots against and only get 1 on target and win every week. And I think we're going to get to round 20 and go, they've done it again. Costa's got 110 goals now and they're flying.
And to be fair, you know, they were without Sutton and Payne, so they had to, you know, and they've been important players for them. Sutton scored, Payne scored. They've both been on the score sheet this year. They play in that 3-5, 3-4-3. Well, the wide fullback roles, 3 at the back. They had to change that. They had to improvise. It's funny what you say about Chiefy though, because he's such a nice guy. Like he's really a genuine guy, and in the press conference, like, you know, there are questions about shape and this sort of thing, and he just goes into it, you know, and he's there. Well, yeah, we did this, we switched here, and then we thought we needed to create a little bit more space here. We're happy to sit back and defend, and then we moved Marco Rojas onto the right, him onto the left. He's basically giving the whole plan.
That's what I like
to the opposition for the next game, unless it's just all bullshit.
Yeah, but because that's the way I look at it too. Because he's so nice and he gives you everything. I'm like, and we all go, yeah, and then I take a step back and go, is he just talking shit here? And we're all just going, yeah, Chief,
exactly. It's got to be,
but he doesn't. What you get with a lot of managers isn't it? Oh, yeah, we try to do a couple of things here and there, and, you know, it's all vagaries and I don't want to give too much away. He just seems to go, fucking hell, you can all see what we're doing if you fucking pay attention, so I'm just going to tell you what we're doing, and we're good enough to do what we want to do our way, and if you can go and break us down, well, then that's up to you, but there's no secret. It's like there's no secrets. if you really want to go and analyse a game, you can see what we're going to do. So I'm just going to tell you. And it's refreshing to get him to give just on it. It seems like it's just like, I've got nothing to hide. I'm just going to, there's no insecurity. There's no, what's going to happen if people find out? It's just, fuck, this is us, who we are, and I can tell you how we play. Deal with it. I love it.
Piscopo had a knock, came off the bench. Bruno came off the bench, hit the post as well. I mean, look, you talk about riding your luck. There were chances, but Paddy Kisnorbo did say after the game, Bruno for the moment is part of the squad. Nishan Velupale is not there. Bruno comes back in. Bruno can give you that option. That was one of the talking points. The other talking point, I think, to come out of this one, and maybe looking at the whole Unite round, is that we didn't talk much about referees this week. After a couple of bad weeks for the referees.
Nor should we.
Exactly. So, pen or no pen in this one? No, fuck it. We won't talk about it.
No need to talk about the referees. We want that. We want to be able to have games where we're not talking about referees. We want to be talking about the players. We want to be talking about the football. We want to be talking about the fans.
Exactly.
Referees have got their role to play and doing their job, but if they do their job well, then they're unnoticeable, right?
Yeah.
Invisible,
I will talk about Daniel Arzani. I thought he was very good in the fact that, him and Piscopo really seem to be fighting for that spot now, and Piscopo was fantastic, and I thought Daniel did a very good job until he had that full body cramp and had to come off. But I thought he was good. Every time he got on the ball, he looked like he was going to create something. He looked like he was causing problems. He slotted in well. It didn't look like he'd been not getting much game time. So it's good for PK as well to have depth in positions, high quality depth in those positions as well.
Yeah, if he can just do it week in, week out now. I mean, that's, like you say, that's depth, but that's competition for places.
That's what you want,
and that's what PK's trying to develop, that everyone's desperate. And judging by the number of Arzani jerseys in the crowd, we know he's a Sydney boy. The family and the extended family and everyone, the family and friends were all there. And maybe that's why he got the full body cramp, because he gave it that little bit extra.
Maybe it was his off-season teammates from that 6th division team in Sydney that he played with. Maybe they were all there as well.
Down at Coogee. Did you have it in your contract that you weren't allowed to go skiing and stuff?
I think that's
ride a motorcycle, all that sort of thing?
Contract is skiing, motorbikes. There's a few things in there. Skydiving, I think. I don't know.
What else is there in there? Bungee jumping.
I think there's all that kind of that stuff's standard. I think. You still do most of it, didn't you?
Some did.
Yeah.
I didn't want to risk it. It wasn't worth risking it.
Yeah.
You've only got a short time in your career. I said that from the start when I was playing. I said, at the end of my career, I can do all those things and more.
But I wasn't earning as much
I stayed
money
away
as
from
you,
it.
Lukey. You were earning a lot more money, so you had a lot more to lose. I was only going to lose about $5.50 a week. I'll just go get a job at Macca's and get paid the same.
One of the things I saw in that famous trip to Moscow in 2003, one of the players had a brother that worked at a bank or something in Moscow, and he told us all sorts of stories about Moscow, how it was then, and we didn't know how to take it. One of them was the 300th anniversary of St. Petersburg, and the weather had been shit, and we were all on the overnight train, the Red Rocket or whatever it is, up to St. Petersburg. Fantastic experience as well, and St. Petersburg, cool town, and it had been raining for a week, and everyone was saying, "Oh, you're going to St. Petersburg? Weather's going to be beautiful. All the heads of state are there for the 300th, and weather will be perfect. And we were like, okay. And so what's going on? I said, yeah, they'll send the planes up.
They'll
send the planes up to clean the sky. And they fucking do it. It has never rained on a May Day parade in Moscow ever since they started it, because they send the planes up and they bomb the clouds, and they lose all their water. Like, it's like putting up, those salts for sucking in the humidity. And the clouds rain themselves out. And so St. Petersburg, it was cold in May, but it was clear skies for fucking 36 hours. And then it started pissing down again. But for the day when all the heads of state were there for the 300th anniversary of St. Petersburg, It was beautiful weather. So that's one.
Should get.
That's how crazy they are.
Should get the government here to fly the planes when those storms are brewing over Macarthur every fucking summer. Ward those fucking electrical storms away.
The other one was that, and I don't know if this is, and Luke will be able to confirm this. He said that you could turn your private car with chauffeur into a police car for $5,000 US. I think it was for 6 months, but maybe it was for the year. And then when we were leaving, walking out of the Luzhniki, we saw all these SUVs, like black four-wheel drives, with someone putting a siren on the fucking roof of the thing, and then just bombing out of the stadium. And it was the players that would put sirens on their cars, and they could do whatever the fuck they wanted. Did you have a siren, Luke?
I didn't have a siren. No, you could, and there was certain number plates that you could get that you'd never get pulled over. So yeah, mate, anything goes. Anything goes, especially back then. I mean, it's changed a little bit. It's changed now. It's definitely changed. There's a lot more cameras and things. They stopped with the police, obviously, with the corruption. You could get caught drink driving or speeding, and just slide a few dollars in your registration papers when they're checking them, and then off you go. So yeah, it was
money talks.
It does, and but I think it's definitely changed over the years. And the last time I was back there, it definitely wasn't as easy to get away with things as it was when I first went there. Put it that way.
That's the voice got
a little bit even more expensive.
Yeah. Well, I went back there. I went again in 2009 for a World Swimming Championship, and then 2017 St. Petersburg for the Confed Cup, and then 2018 for the World Cup in Moscow. And it definitely changed, but Moscow is a fucking shit hot city.
That's the best.
Like if you can,
Moscow never sleeps,
it is
as they say.
Unreal. Yeah,
amazing.
Exactly. And especially in summer when literally
Moscow
it's
never
still
sleeps.
daytime at 2:00 in the morning.
You can get anything, anytime in Moscow. Anything, anytime. If you want a top steak restaurant at 3 a.m. in the morning, you can find one.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything goes. No. Moscow never sleeps. It's If you haven't been there, go.
Yeah. Maybe wait till exactly. Wait till they get that shit sorted.
Yeah.
And then go, because it is well and truly worth. Before that though, go to the fucking Outback.
Yeah.
As well, just to bring that back, because that is very different to Moscow. But fucking worth it. Last game of the Unite round, Macarthur versus Auckland. And Auckland, Macca read the stats of Wellington, what they did to Melbourne Victory. Same goes. Macarthur, 13 shots. Auckland, 6. Yeah, go. XG, 1.5 for Macarthur, 0.3 for Auckland, who got their goal, the first goal for Guillermo Mai in the 34th minute. But Macarthur have got to be kicking themselves. Yeah. Ariath Piol, they were too easy maybe after his reverse bicycle kick 2 weeks ago. 1-on-1 with the keeper, it's not the same vibe, is it? Valère Germain's header, that's money for old rope for him. That was, insane miss. And how pissed off he gets on the football field as well. He would have been so pissed off with himself after that, because that was a classic. What'd you make of this one? Lukey, did you see this? Another fucking smash and grab from I know you admire it deep down. This clinical, we played like shit, but we won.
No, that's just football, isn't it? That happens all the time. When you've been a big coach and you dominate the game and you're missing chances, you're like, fuck, we're going to cop one here. And you always do, right? People that know football, It's happened that many times. You just got to take your chances. You've got to be more clinical. Otherwise, it comes and bites you in the ass, and again, and that's what's happened. Again, Auckland. And at the end of the day, right, they're going to walk away and go 3 points in the bag. See you later. And everyone's going to look back at the end of the season. They're just going to see win, win, win. Not fucking how was your performance and did you dominate the game? They're going to go, no, look, we're top of the table.
Exactly.
2 to go yet in 4 matches. They rode their fucking luck on this one, that's for sure. Mile Sturjowski said after the game he's just concerned about the consistency of his team. They're they've got 10 goals in their matches so far. They've got the highest expected goals by a long shot. I think they're nearly 13, like 3 in front of the next team. But they were just wasteful. They didn't have Jed Drew and Holman, who were injured, but they still created a bag full of chances. Piol, you can sort of, I guess, with him and say, he's just breaking it in. He got a few games last season, but yeah, that header from Valer-Germain, that's bread and butter. That's the one where they run away with the game, and they go into cruise mode, and they'll probably get a second and third because the confidence there then, and then Auckland have to start coming out to try and chase the game a little bit. But the only time I thought they looked like they were in danger is when they gave their ball away in their own half, and there was one time Brimmer got wide and they got back and covered it, but they looked comfortable. They just could not get that ball in the net, and they paid for it in the end.
Nothing to add, Luke?
No, don't give it any more oxygen, Auckland.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck, I agree with you. I mean, mind you, if I did pick Wellington Phoenix to finish bottom, which, there is stiff competition for that wooden spoon, I will concede. And they already have a 10-point head start. I did pick Auckland to finish top. So maybe, just maybe,
just bookending the Kiwis at the top and the bottom, mate.
Exactly. Well, that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted.
Some achievement, I tell you.
I think there are other teams that want to have their say in that race for the wooden spoon. It's time for our stat attack. Shatter stat. Sorry, fuck. Can't even get the name of the segment right. Brought to you by Andrew Howe. Here is Stato, the official statistic brain of Australian football, and I just had an idea to go and check out a certain.
There he is.
Recognise that jersey? There he is. What's written about?
Tell you what, he looks fit there, doesn't he?
Luke Wilkshire.
Yeah, he was.
So, with 119 international appearances against 56 different countries at 3 different age levels, Luke Wilkshire's national representative career is one of the most extensive of any Australian player. How about that? That's your little fun fact about. And I bet you didn't even know that, did you?
No, but that sounds good. Carry on.
No, that's all. The rest is just boring. You were cap number. Do you know what cap number you were?
Oh, come on, man. Give it to me.
481. But you never wore the number 127 for the Socceroos, did you?
I didn't.
No one did. No one wore it for the Socceroos. It was on the team sheet.
I'll tell you though, Robbie, I've never watched a game back of my own or looked at all that stuff. I just never did. I hated it when the coach would show us. Never. Haven't watched World Cup games back or anything.
Really?
No.
Even at club level? Even when you were starting out?
No.
That's fucking
unless
awesome.
It was in,
I rate that.
Unless it was in.
I just look forward. That's it.
You must have done reviews and stuff like that.
So what?
When the managers made reviews, yes. Yeah. But I hated it.
Yeah.
I hated it. I knew all my mistakes. I knew everything that had happened.
Yeah.
And I would walk into the video review, just go, oh, please don't show that. Don't show that. Fuck. He shows it. And then if he didn't show it, you go, fuck, I know I fucked up. He didn't show it. Good. We're good. I hated it. I don't know. Never look back. I always look forward. I knew myself in my head. I'd play everything in through my head, like understanding everything. But, yeah.
What about your 2 goals that
that's
weren't
why
penalties?
you can tell us things.
What about
only when they get sent to me.
What about the 2 goals that weren't penalties? Surely you've watched them back.
I've been shown them 2 left foot volleys.
Yeah.
No, one left foot volley, one handball, left hand. Left foot volley and a left hand.
Oh, left it.
No VAR back in my day, mate.
What does Diego Maradona, Lionel Messi, and Luke Wilkshire all have in common?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Nice.
Handball goals.
Yeah. Back post. Important one too, that was an important one in Bahrain.
Was it?
Very good.
Yeah.
Fucking cheat.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's a good stat. That's a stat. That's a stat I like. I scored a goal. It was a handball.
That's a good.
Yeah.
1 of 8.
So thankfully no VAR back in my day. I would have been -1 goal and I would have been plus multiple red cards that I never got.
Yeah.
All right, time for the stat. And so Mac has already mentioned the first part of this, which was, and this is from Stato, who wrote that book about Luke and the other 600 odd Socceroos over the years. I have to check now that if McBreen's in there. I guess no cap means you're not there, even though you're on the bench. Auckland's win against MacArthur makes it 4 wins in their first ever 4 games. This we know. It's only the 3rd time in Australian men's league history. So everyone's been saying this is a first for the A-League to win your first 4 matches. This is true. But there were 2 other teams that did it back in the NSL. Adelaide City and Western Suburbs both won their first 4 games of the 1977 season, the first ever A-League season. Western Suburbs from Sydney went on to win 5 out of 5 in their first 5, which Auckland can equal next weekend against Newcastle. Can we see that happening? Incidentally, people, maybe, yes. It's in Auckland as well. The Jets are flying out. So the clean sheet, Auckland's 1-0 result over MacArthur makes it 4 clean sheets in their first 4 games. This is also the 3rd time in Australian men's league history, because Adelaide City and Western Suburbs in 1977 also had 4 back-to-back clean sheets. Those 2 teams met each other in round 5, which is where Western Suburbs got that 5th consecutive win. Adelaide City lost. Western Suburbs scored in the 32nd minute, so that's where Adelaide City's record stopped for clean sheets. 400 and whatever, 300 and whatever minutes. There we go. So Western Suburbs conceded to Adelaide City in the 53rd minute, meaning that Auckland, to create a new Australian National League record for the most time before conceding their first ever goal, need to get to the 54th minute of their game against the Jets without conceding to set a new A-League record.
Okay, so question for Andy Howe then is, how much injury time or additional time are played in those matches, and does that extend the minutes that need to be played?
Well, I saw Opta Jason said they were already at 399 minutes, so that's 39 minutes of stoppage time. Can that be right?
4 games.
For Auckland?
10 minutes a game.
That's 10 minutes
Every
per game of stop. Oh, yeah, maybe if they're adding first half.
Oh, yeah.
And second half.
Yeah.
But no, back in 1977, it was 90 minutes. That's all.
Yeah.
That's why I think we just say, if they make the 54th minute,
Right.
and I hope our Piney and Jake are listening, fucking better be, boys, to the podcast. there's your stat all set up, delivered on a platter for you. I did then go and have a look and add a little bit of extra stat, but now I can't fucking find it. Which was, yes. So, does this mean that Auckland are going to go on to win the league? Well, Western Suburbs finished 5th that season, 2 points behind Adelaide City, and Marconi ended up with comfortably the best defensive record in that first season. Perhaps most concerning for Auckland is that Western Suburbs' arch rival, Eastern Suburbs, won the league. So does that mean that the Wellington Phoenix are going to win the league if Auckland set a new record for not conceding goals? There you
Next
go.
week
Is
we
that a
need
long bow?
next week-
A little bit too long?
That's all right. Next week we need to find the stats for the least amount of goals to win the league. That's next week's.
Yeah, exactly.
See, those 2 Kiwi teams
How
are
many
top
did they
of the
score
league.
last year? Because they didn't.
Yeah.
Fucking Phoenix didn't score many last year.
Exactly, but they
What
didn't
was
win the
it?
fucking league.
Hang on. No, but they finished second,
Yeah.
didn't they? Or 3rd in the end?
Second.
Did they? No, second.
Righto.
Just. It was that second last game. Hang on, I got it here.
No, let's go.
42 goals.
We'll be
42 goals scored in coming second last year. Mariners didn't do that much better, mind you. 49.
yeah.
Okay, so that's it for this week. Let's have a look at the ladder as it stands. As we know, Auckland 12 points, 4 from 4, with a match in hand on Wellington and Melbourne Victory on 10 points. Adelaide also on 10 points and with a match in hand as well. Adelaide are equal top scorers in the league, along with MacArthur and Sydney. No, they're not. Western Sydney have scored 11 goals and conceded 12 down in 10th place. So Auckland, Wellington, Victory and Adelaide. Then Melbourne City in 5th place, 9 points. Sydney FC, 9 points. So the top 6, Macca, and this is where we get to your prediction from last week. The top 6 are covered by 3 points. There is already a 3-point gap to MacArthur and the Central Coast Mariners, doom and gloom. Western United have climbed to 5. Western Sydney Wanderers dropped to 4 in 10th place. Jets 3 points, and then our 2 winless sides. Perth Glory with 1 point after 5 games, and Brisbane Roar no points, -6 goal difference from 4 games. So still have a game in hand, the Roar as well. Macca, you said that the bottom 5 were not going to make the finals. Where do you stand now on the bottom 7?
The bottom 7. So,
is there going to be a Mariners comeback? That's probably one way to couch this.
The Mariners, for them to have a comeback, I think they need a DePizio and they need a 15-goal striker to come in the window. I don't think they've got the firepower. It was an anomaly last year that they didn't have someone who scored, high teams to win the league. They won't do that again if they don't have a goal scorer.
Luke, what's your take on all this? We've got a haves and have-nots at the moment in the league. Is that going to change?
I don't think so. I think what might change is their positioning in terms of especially that bottom 5. But I think those ones that we're seeing up in that top 6 are going to be the ones contesting throughout the year.
All right. Do we have enough? Everyone happy?
Yep. We're happy.
No. You're all asleep. Fair enough. It's understandable. We have been going long. So that's it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, all that sort of stuff. We know that if you're listening to this, you're already the rusted on, and it's great to have you. You're in a select bunch of true believers. We fucking rate that, don't we, Macca? And Lukey, great to chat to you. Need to catch up more often, mate.
Definitely, mate, definitely. But for now, in that sunshine, I can see the ocean over there. I'm going for a swim, mate.
I agree.
Get me fucking out of here.
I'm the same. So
I'm going for a swim.
We've got Monday night football later.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the ocean.
All right, let's do it. I'm with you. See ya.
Look out for sharks, mate. And don't forget to head to the Outback, you fuckers. All right. See you, everyone.
Cheers.